Welcome everyone. I'm Debbie House, the Editor-in-Chief of Retail TouchPoints, and today I'm joined by Mario Vollbracht, and he is the Worldwide Executive for HP Retail and Consumer Goods. Welcome, Mario.
Thanks, Debbie.
Thanks for joining us today. Mario and I are going to talk about some issues around what's happening in the retail industry, talk about perspectives on the consumer, mobile technologies, and also some global and retail CPG perspectives.
Right.
So why don't we start out by, if you can give me sort of your overall perspective on what's happening in the retail industry through these difficult economic times and where you see things going.
Absolutely, and glad to be here. We have a very strong point of view on what's happening in retail and adjacent consumer goods. So when we look at the industry, there are two definite trends that we see, two definite evolutions. The first one is that we've obviously experienced an economic downturn worldwide. It hasn't just been in the US, as we all know, it's been worldwide. Now, the interesting thing with the downturn is that it's not over. We're still living it, and you see the news articles every day that kind of underscore that. As a result, retailers have had to redefine how they engage with this new consumer, this frugal consumer that's practicing financial sobriety and is much more picky about how to go about shopping for products today. So that's kind of the first trend we see. The second one is very exciting, very interesting trend that this consumer is now connected, is mobile, is doing research well before going to the store, is connected in the store, lots of times knows more about the products than your associate does in the store. So those two trends are absolutely what retailers live today worldwide and that they need to respond to.
So what can retailers do to personalize and customize their interactions with consumers via all of the channels that they're accessing, from their home to the internet and then into the store?
Right. So great question. So when we look at retail, looking at those two trends, you obviously, we have a couple of different imperatives and solution areas that we want retailers to look at and that we're engaging with them on a discussion. So first of all, the store matters more than ever. And you can say, okay, that's something that we've heard before. What's new here? Well, think back to the connected consumer. And I'm now a consumer that doesn't have a lot of time. I'm very picky about what I spend and where I spend my money. I'm going to do my research ahead of time. And I'm going to walk into this store very well informed with a definite plan as to what I want to buy. So with that comes a lot of technology that you need to embrace when you're talking about a retail store. For example, you have to start thinking about allowing your network, your wireless network, to be open in your store. Mm-hmm. So the consumer can connect and research the products and talk to the social network when they need to do that in store. Second, business intelligence is a key area for us that we see too. When you're a retailer today, you can no longer just run your POS data and get your checkout and see what your market basket is. It's much broader than that. That is still very important, but you need to look at this unstructured data that's now pervasive as well and really understand what consumers are talking about you as a retailer, about the products and what they like and don't like about the shopping experience. So the third area that I would kind of mention is the whole part around mobility. So mobility is critical in this world. As I said, consumers walk around with power devices. Associates need to have these devices as well from a mobility perspective to engage with that consumer. So all these three things are critically important to really answer today's consumer and start looking at the store and mobility.
So regarding mobility, there have been a lot of introductions, new technologies, yes. Tablets, that kind of thing. How do retailers respond to the mobility right now today, and then how do they prepare for what's coming ahead in the future with all the new technology that's coming out? How do they sort of make heads or tails over, where to go?
Yeah, it's not an easy field, right? So retailers are looking at this new space. They get inundated by people claiming they have the mobility solution for them. Mm-hmm. Let's just say that from our point of view, when you look at mobility, it's not just the handheld device, be it a tablet or a smartphone, that's displaying some flashy data. That's the easy part. It's everything else that you do with it. How do you get this data provisioned and staged? How do you get data in one place, structured and unstructured data that you can actually make sense out of, compare apples to apples? How do you then get it in a secure and timely fashion to this handheld device? And let's not forget, mobility is not just the consumer walking in, it's also your associates. So how do you actually get this data provisioned, sent, make it secure, make it relevant to your associates' mobile device and to the consumer? I think that's what they're solving for today, and that's where HP, frankly, has a very strong positioning. We have the front-end device, as you know, we've made some announcements recently, but we can do the entire stack, and I think that's what the exciting piece is.
So behind the scenes, it's important for retailers to ask those questions about what's happening behind the scenes, and also
Absolutely.
the ability to garner that information and turn
Right.
it into actionable data in a timely manner. I think that was one of the
Yes.
most significant things you
Yes.
just said.
And one thing to add on to that too, when you start thinking about mobility, it's all about flexibility in the end. You know, we have a notion of instant on retail enterprise, and it's a vision, but it's a vision that's here today. What do we mean by instant on retail enterprise? It's basically allowing a retailer to scale up, scale down, be always connected internally with partners, with the consumer. Now, everything that I'm laying out from mobility to business intelligence and all those items cannot work without retooling this legacy retail enterprise that a lot of retailers still have. So that's an important piece as well.
Okay, great. Switching gears just a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about how today's trends are affecting how retailers and CPG companies interact with each other,
Right.
and how they're responding to consumer demands and needs, and where that might be headed in the future.
Yeah, of course. So this has been an area that people have been talking about for 20, 30 years, right? The interaction between retail and brand manufacturer. What we've seen is very interesting. So we basically have noticed a convergence between the two. Retailers with the downturn have seen a lot of consumers trading down to their private label brands. So they have picked up, private label is growing tremendously in Europe, in Asia Pacific, and in the US. So as a result, these retailers have become, in effect, brand manufacturers in their own right. Then you look at consumer goods manufacturers, they are wanting to connect with that mobile connected consumer and bypass retail or have different ways of feeding into retail or become retailers themselves. So that's kind of been an interesting trend that we've seen, where they're working together in the traditional way, but they're overlapping more and more as well.
Okay, great. And then finally, can we talk a little bit about the global perspective on retail, how what's happening around the world is affecting retailers in the United States, but also, around the entire world?
Oh, absolutely. So when we look worldwide, you see a lot of the similar trends, but you see some differences too, right? So when you look at a couple of trends like urbanization, for instance, people are still moving into cities at a tremendous rate. And that's not necessarily led by the United States or by Europe. That's led by South America. That's led by Asia, up-and-coming countries. And if you look at some of these statistics like Mexico City and some of the big cities in Asia, the growth is phenomenal. So that is going to have tremendous impact, and these are also connected users that are time-strapped and have lots of information at their fingertips. But you're going to have to deal with this massive infrastructure and the concentration that you have in urbanization. Another trend is aging population. So how do you start segmenting lots of these socioeconomic groups where you have people with a tremendous amount of purchasing power, but they have a different way of shopping and looking at the world that some of the younger people do.
And also localization and different, regional differences, as well as
Absolutely.
Country requirements. I think
If there's anything that we've learned from the last couple of years, economic downturn aside, is that consumers want personalized products and personalized information, and so localization is tremendously important.
So just kind of a general statement on through the economic downturn, and I understand we're still in it.
Right.
Are things going to go back to the way they were, or are consumers' perspectives completely changed permanently?
Yeah, see, I think that's kind of the very interesting outcome of this economic downturn. So we've had some dips before in the economy, and you kind of come back and you pick up where you left off. I don't think that's going to be the case once we come out of this economic downturn, and I think we're already seeing that. You know, as I mentioned, people have traded down to private label brands. Lots of cases, they're not going to return to the higher level brands that they were used to. We're going to see a tremendous continuance of this frugality of consumers switching brands, switching retailers. There's no more loyalty, so and I don't think that's going to change.
So retailers need to react to that and learn how to differentiate themselves.
Yes, and that goes back to unstructured data, being in touch with your consumer, and being constantly aware of your retail brand.
Great. All right. Well, Mario, thanks so much for your thoughts and insights today, and thanks for our viewers. Have a good day.